Okay, here we go. Okay, welcome everyone to your 60-minute Pilates class. This is an all levels class. I've received all your PAR-Q forms, so let me know if you have anything that has come up since you've submitted those forms, but otherwise you guys are all fit and healthy. The next thing is just if you don't want me to come and do any hands-on adjustments, you can just let me know, raise your hand if I come near you. That's totally fine, I don't need to touch you. But otherwise, yeah, this is an all-level beginner class, so you guys should all do well. Okay, so we're just gonna start with our standing alignment. So starting with your feet hip distance apart, with your feet below your knees, a soft knee bend, and your knees below your hips. You can just bring your shoulders nice and tall and have that chin just straight ahead. I'm gonna turn to the side here to show you guys a little bit about our pelvic alignment. But in our pelvic alignment, we can imagine that our pelvis is basically a bowl of water. So if you tip it forward, the water would tip out the front. If you tip it backwards, the water would tip out the back. So you can kind of just bring your hands to your hips and feel that movement as you move back and forth until you find kind of that neutral center position where the water would sit comfortably in that bucket. So once you find that position, you can bring your hands to your side. We're gonna go ahead and roll those shoulders nice down and back. So we're standing nice and tall, thinking about a string, pulling your spine up towards the ceiling and having that chin just right on a shelf. So it's straight ahead, your eye gaze is straight ahead, and that is going to be our standing alignment. If you wanna go ahead and bring your hands to your rib cage, we're just gonna start practicing our lateral breathing, which is what we will continue to do throughout class. So if you want to go ahead and inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. You can continue this movement. When you inhale, you should feel those fingertips expand when your rib cage expands and contract as you breathe out through your mouth. We're going to continue this lateral breathing throughout class, so we just want you guys to get comfortable with it and understand this breathing pattern. I'll refer back to this throughout class, so just so you're all aware. When you're ready, you can bring your hands down towards your side and just continue that breathing. We're gonna now go into some core engagement. So I just want you to imagine that you have a string that runs from your belly button towards through the back of your spine. And if someone was to pull quite hard on that string, you would suck your belly button all the way back towards your spine. In Pilates, though, we want to think about 30% engagement, so a gentle pull towards that spine. If you release that 100% to about 30%, it should feel comfortable, yet engaged. And then we're going to move on to the pelvic floor alignment and engagement. So basically, similarly to your core engagement, your pelvic floor is made up of a group of muscles that span from your two hip bones and your pubic bone in front and your tailbone behind. So if you think about that hammock, you'd want to lift all of those muscles up towards the ceiling and feel that gentle lift and engagement, similarly to how we feel that pull to the belly button. So just lifting those muscles and understanding what that lift feels like, because I will refer to it again throughout class, so I want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable with that movement. Great job. So now that we've gone through our alignment and our breathing and our core and pelvic floor engagement, we're going to move into our warm-up. So you can bring your hands to your side. Great. We're going to start with some head turns. So turning to your right first, you can exhale and then inhale to come back to center. And then we're going to repeat on the other side. And inhale to come back to center. Great job. So we're warming up through our neck here, making sure we're mobilizing those neck muscles and our cervical spine here. Awesome. If you would like to progress this movement, you can just turn your head a little bit further. Really good job. Using your breath to guide this movement. We're just going to do one more on each side. And come back to center. Good job. We're going to move on to some shoulder rolls now. So Keeping your hands at your side and your shoulders down and back like we got into our alignment, we're going to go ahead and breathe in to lift our shoulders up towards our ears, and then breathe out as we bring them back, down, and away from our ears. So we can continue that, lifting those shoulders and rolling them down, back, and away. Good job. Warming up our scapular here, getting those shoulders nice and mobilized. We want to think about engaging our core through this movement, keeping our posture nice and strong, and thinking about having that soft knee bend too. We don't want to lock out those knees. One more, and if you want to progress this, you can bring your hands to your shoulders, and we can continue with those shoulder rolls. If you'd like to stay in the first movement, that's totally fine as well. Just opening the chest, bringing in a little bit more range of movement through this warm-up exercise. And we'll just do 2 more here. Great job. You can bring your hands down to your side now. So we're going to move into some lateral flexion here. So we're going to start by leaning towards our right side. So when you lean towards your right side, you're going to exhale and draw that right hand down towards your side. And then inhale to come back up to center. And then we're going to go to the other side. So draw that hand down the side of your leg. And then inhale to come back to center. Nice. Really feeling that stretch in the side body, warming up those obliques. In this movement, we really want to make sure that we're not letting our chest fall forward or leaning back. You can imagine that you're in between 2 panes of glass, and you got to stay straight as you lean to the side. Great job. On that next one here, you can go ahead and lift that opposite hand up and over the side of your body just to make that stretch a little bit further. If that doesn't feel good for you or you liked what we were doing the first time, you can stay in that first level. Awesome. Continuing to use your breath here, exhaling as you go over and inhaling to come back to center. And we'll just do 1 more, and then come back to center. Good job. So we're going to inhale to lift our arms up to shoulder height here. We're going to move into a little bit of spinal rotation. So on your exhale, you're going to turn your right elbow towards the back of the room, letting your eye gaze follow as you go, twisting that spine, and inhaling to come back to center. Awesome. And then we'll go to the other side. Exhaling, and inhaling to come back to center. We're warming up our thoracic spine here and our cervical spine at the top, getting nice and mobile and comfortable with some rotation. Awesome job. Keeping those shoulders down and away from your ears, and using that core to keep your hips facing forward as we rotate, only letting those shoulders twist. We'll go 1 more, and then if you'd like to progress, at the back of your twist, you can extend your arm at the back, and then circle all the way around to come back to the front. Nice job. Remembering to engage that core as we twist, making sure that our full body is getting warmed up here. Nice. We'll just do 1 more on each side, and then we'll come back to center. Good job. So you can lower your hands down to your side. We're going to move into some squats here to warm up the lower half of our body. So we're going to have our feet hip distance apart, similar to as we started, or if it feels more comfortable, you can go a little bit further apart. But we want to kind of stay here in this area. So you can have your hands on your hips or at heart center, whatever feels best for you. But we're going to inhale as we lower into our squat. And exhale to rise back up. And we'll go again. Inhale to lower, and exhale to rise. Nice. This squat's gonna warm up our hips, warm up our knees and our ankles. Great job. Thinking about keeping our chest nice and tall as we lower down and lift up. Great job. We'll do one more, and if you want to progress, we're just going to try and squat a little bit lower. Otherwise, you can totally stay where you are as well. Good job. And we'll just do one more here, and then we'll come to standing. Great job. Okay, next we're gonna move into some heel lifts or heel pedals, so you can have your hands on your hips. Think about that pelvic alignment, making sure it's neutral and tucked underneath. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna lift just your right heel off the floor when you inhale and exhale to lower down. Sorry, we're gonna exhale to lift it, and we're gonna inhale to lower down. And we're just gonna alternate heels here. Just warming up that ankle. Getting some nice mobility through our feet and our ankles here. Keeping those shoulders down. And if you'd like to progress this, you can just speed up the movement in between each foot here. So you can kind of start to pedal out those heels, using your breath to guide the speed that you go. Just exhaling between each switch. Great job. We'll just do two more here, and then we'll come back to standing for our last warm-up exercise. You can just lower your heels down, keeping our feet hip distance apart again, tucking that pelvis underneath and drawing our core back with our shoulders down and our head straight ahead. We're gonna work on some balancing here just to warm up. So we're gonna start by lifting our right foot just in front of us, just tapping the floor in front of you, and then bringing it back to center. Using that core to help you balance, and really slowly just shifting your weight as we go through this. We're gonna exhale to point that toe, and inhale to bring it back to center. Great job. If you want to progress this, you can go ahead and just lift that knee higher off the ground into a 90-degree angle at the top. If you'd like to stay with just your foot pointed in front, that's totally fine. Or you can find somewhere in between these two moves. This is really testing our coordination here, our balance and control through our body. Just preparing us for our main phase here. Just going to do one more on each side. Awesome job. We can just come back to standing. Good job. Okay, so now we're going to move into our main phase. So we're going to come down to all fours. So if you want to meet me down in this all fours position, we're going to have our hands directly under our shoulders and our knees hip distance apart underneath our hips. So we're going to start with a Superman, which basically means that we're just going to reach our one arm out in front at a time and then draw it back in. So we're going to engage that core, lifting it up towards the ceiling, making sure we have a flat back. And on our exhale, we're going to reach our right arm out in front of us, keeping that hand on the mat, and then inhale to bring it back in. And then we'll switch to the other side. Exhale and inhale to bring it back in. Great job. Keeping that head neutral at the top of our mat. You guys can keep going. I'm just going to come around and make sure we're all in proper alignment. Great job. Using your breath to help you reach out forward and then come back to center with your inhale. Awesome job. Great. Making sure we're really tucking that core up towards the ceiling. Awesome. Okay, and if you guys would like to progress here, we're gonna go ahead and lift that arm off the mat when we reach out. So you can lift it up to your shoulder height and then bring it back down. And then go ahead and switch. Great. If you'd like to stay at the first level of this exercise, that's totally fine as well. Really slow and controlled here. Awesome. Keeping that eye gaze just between your tops of your hands at the top of your mat. Great job. And we'll just do one more on each side, and then we'll come back to all fours. Awesome job. Okay, so moving on to our next exercise, we're going to move down on to our prone lying position onto our stomachs. So you can take your time to lower down into that position. Awesome. We're going to have our hands in cactus arms, so at a 90-degree angle on either side of your body. Perfect. And your face is going to be directly towards the mat. You can rest your forehead onto the mat in front of you, just so your spine is in straight alignment. This is called the dart. So what we're going to do here is we're going to prepare by tucking our pelvis into a neutral position, lifting that core off of the mat, feeling that engagement. And then we're going to exhale to only lift our head just slightly off the mat, keeping that eye gaze directly down towards the floor. And then inhale to come back down, resting our forehead. So we're working on some spinal extension here. So you can go ahead and lift your head off the mat and then lower it back down. Great job. You can go again, just keeping your head straight forward. Good job. You really just want to lift through this muscle here. So if you lift through your shoulders, good. Engaging that core and glutes as you lift through your spine. Great job. Yeah, so this is working through our spinal extension, strengthening through that thoracic spine. Awesome. So now if you'd like to progress this, you can add in the arm lift. So when you lift your head off the floor, you can go ahead and also lift your arms off the floor. And then inhale to come back to center. Awesome. Great. Trying to keep those arms in that 90-90 position. Good job. Just think about keeping your arms like there. Yeah, there you go. Great job. We'll just do two more here. We'll lift and lower using your breath. Awesome. And then one more. Amazing. Great job. So you can come just lying onto your side. We're going to start on our right side. You're good. Go onto your right side. Perfect. Good job. Yep, you guys are all good. So from this position, we're going to go into a clamshell. So you're going to have both of your knees. You're going to think about having your knees together, and then you're going to have your ankles together as well. And then your ankles should be in line with your hips. Your hips should be in line with your shoulder, and we're going to lie right down onto our arm, tucking our head onto our arm here. Yep, perfect. You can hold your head with your arm if you want to bend it, or you can just put it out straight in front of you. Perfect, good job. So from that position, you're going to tuck your core in, making sure, you guys are all in great alignment. Tuck your core in, and then go ahead and exhale and lift that top leg and open that hip. Perfect, keeping your feet together, and then you can inhale to lower back down. Just rest your head on your arm. There you go. You can do this too if you like. Nice. Good job. Just bring your whole body back a little bit. There you go, straight, nice. Great job. So yeah, this is our clam. You can have your front arm out in front of you if that feels better to help you balance a little bit. And just opening that hip as far as you can that you don't rotate. You just want to open it so that you're feeling that strengthening in your glutes. Amazing. Good job, guys. Y'all look great. Okay. If you'd like to progress this here from this position, you can go ahead and lift your feet off the mat and then open into our clamshell, and then lower back down and then lower your feet. This progression is just challenging us by challenging our balance, using our core strength a little bit more, and our glutes and our hamstrings to lift those feet off the ground. Great job. So when you close your legs, lower your feet back down, and then reset. Great. Good job. Awesome. We'll do 2 more here, and then we'll move on to our next exercise. I'm just going to stay over here so you guys can see me for the next one. Great. So you can lower down. Staying in that position, we're going to move into some single leg circles. So from our side line, we're going to extend our legs out straight. Nice. So think about, we still want to be in that alignment. We want to have our ankles and our knees and our hips and our shoulders all in line, and our head. And you can put that front arm out in front of you or bent arm, whatever feels most comfortable. You're going to engage that core towards your spine. Feel that lift in your rib cage, just a slight lift, so maybe you could fit a piece of paper underneath your ribs there. And you're going to go ahead and exhale and lift that leg up towards the ceiling. Then we're going to start drawing our circles. So towards the back of the room, you'll exhale to come back to center. Inhale to lift that leg, and then exhale as you circle it back. And we'll continue that movement. Great job. Good job, everyone. Nice, really slow and controlled movement. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to draw it back. Nice. You should really feel this in our core as it's helping us balance and control that speed of the movement, and our glutes as well. Nice. We'll just do 2 more here, and then to progress that, just for a couple, if you'd like, you can make those circles a little bit bigger, but only as far as you can go without letting your hips tilt back or rotating through your hips. Nice job. Good job, everyone. Nice. And we'll just do 2 more here, and then you can lower that leg down. We'll do 1 more, yeah, and then lower that leg down. Good job. So we're going to meet on our backs now in a crook lying position. So you're going to move onto your back. That's fine. If you want to turn your legs around to come towards me, that would also be fine. Okay, so we're going to be in a crook lying position here. And we're going to go into tabletops for some toe taps. So we're going to start with our hands down beside our body. We want our feet in hip distance apart. And we want our feet hip distance apart. And you want those heels close to your butt. So you can draw those heels in nice and close. You want your shoulders down and back against the floor, making sure that chest is nice and open and our eye gaze is up towards the ceiling. On your exhale, you can bring your knees into tabletop position. Great job. Engaging that core and pressing that spine into the floor. We're going to go ahead and exhale and drop our right toe down towards the floor. And inhale to bring it back up. Keeping those knees in a 90 position. We're going to switch legs. Yep, great job. And we'll just continue that. Think about using your breath here to control your movement. Exhaling down and inhaling to bring that leg back up to tabletop. Great job. Keeping those toes nice and engaged and pointed. And then think about just drawing that belly button towards the floor, basically. Nice job. Yeah. Keeping that eye gaze towards the ceiling. You guys are doing so good. The next time we go to tap our right foot down, we're gonna go ahead and lift our chin and our shoulders up towards the ceiling. So we're in a curl position as our progression. So you want your eye gaze now between your thighs, keeping your hands down on the floor. You can go ahead and tap that right foot down. Inhale to bring to center, keeping your head and shoulders engaged and up in that curl position. And we'll continue with our toe taps. Just for a little bit longer. If you don't want to do that progression, that's also totally fine. You can keep your head down. But if you do want to choose the progression, yeah, just keep that eye gaze nice through those legs. You guys are all in great alignment. Good job. Think about lifting those shoulders off the mat. Nice. So we'll just go ahead and do 2 more, 1 more on each leg. And then you can lower those legs down to the floor and lower your head and shoulders back onto the mat. We're gonna turn on to our other side for the other leg of our clamshells and, yes, and our single leg. So we're gonna start in our clamshell similarly to how we were before. I'll come over to you guys here now. So remembering that we wanna have our ankles together, our knees together, and our ankles, hip, and shoulder in line. And then just laying our head in a safe position on our arm and having that arm either out in front, here bent, or you can have it on your hip if that feels better. It's just gonna help you balance a little bit more if it's out in front. So engaging that core back towards your spine and having your pelvis in that neutral position. Remember that we're gonna think about lifting that rib cage off the floor before we start. Just a piece of paper could maybe slide under there, and we'll exhale to open our knees. Top knee, perfect. And then inhale to come back to center. Great job. Awesome. Yay. Only opening as far as we can without having to rotate those hips. Good job. Using that breath to guide us, to exhale to open those knees, and inhale to lower us down. Nice job. Awesome. If you want to progress that again, we're gonna go ahead and add that foot lift. So from that position, you can exhale to lift those feet off the ground, exhale, open that knee, and inhale to lower, and then reset. So think about every time we put our feet back on the ground, we wanna reset, make sure our core is where it's supposed to be, our pelvis is nice and tucked, making sure that we're in a safe position for our spine before we move here. Awesome job. Great job, guys. We'll just do 2 more on this side, and then we'll move in to our single leg circles. 1 more, great. And then you can lower your legs down and straighten out into that straight position. So before we start here, let's just make sure we're in our proper alignment. We have our feet and our knees and our hips and our shoulder and our head, our eye gaze should be straight ahead and our arm out for support if we need. Tucking that pelvis into a neutral position and really engaging that core. Thinking about that gentle pull that we mentioned earlier, and then lifting those ribs off, and we can exhale to lift that top leg to begin our circle. Exhale, then inhale to circle back, and exhale as we come back to that center. Great. Yep, good job. You can keep that leg up once you lift it, yeah, and then just bring it back to center. Great job. We're challenging our balance here. We're really engaging those glutes, strengthening through our quads in our calves through our pointed toes. You guys are doing awesome. Great job. And just to progress here, if you'd like to, you can make those circles a little bit bigger. Just being conscious when we make those circles a bit bigger that we're not lifting our leg too high, that we're opening our hips, and we're making sure that we keep that pelvis and core engaged to help us balance as we make those circles a little bit bigger. Great job. Using that breath. We'll just do 2 more here. Nice. And then on that last one, you can lower your leg down, and we're going to roll back onto our backs. If anyone needs to get any water or anything, we can do that as well. Feel free to take breaks anytime you need. But we're going to meet in this crook lying position. Similarly, we're going to have our feet hip distance apart and bringing those heels in close towards our glutes. Our knees should also be at hip distance. We're going to think about drawing that belly button towards the spine. We're going to be doing a bridge. So we want to have our hands down by our sides. Our shoulders are pressed against the floor, opening that chest, and our eye gaze is up towards the ceiling. On our next exhale, we're going to start to peel our spine off the ground and lifting our hips into a glute bridge. So go ahead on that exhale. We can start vertebrae by vertebrae, lifting those hips off the mat. Great job. Into that bridge, keeping our eye gaze up at the ceiling. On our inhale, we can lower back down. Awesome. Really slow and controlled. And then reset when you're at the bottom. You can go ahead and lift that glute into a bridge again, using your breath as you exhale to lift and inhale to come back down to our starting position. Continuing to move through that exercise. Great job. So we're working here using our glutes, strengthening through our quads and our hamstrings. Awesome. Good job, guys. Good job. So from that glute bridge position, we're going to just do 2 more here and then we'll add a progression. So as our exhale, we're going to lift up and inhale to lower. On your next lift, when you're up at the top of your glute bridge, you're going to go ahead and lift that right heel off the mat. And then go ahead and lower it down, and then lower your spine back to the floor. And then we're going to alternate. So on your next exhale, as you lift, at the top of your bridge, you're going to go ahead and lift that left heel, and then lower it down, and inhale as you lower. Thinking about keeping those shoulders pressed against the mat so our chest is nice and open. We're challenging our balance here, engaging our calf muscle. Oh, just lift your heel. Just your heel. You're doing good. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, good job, guys. That's our next progression, Sam. Good job. We'll just keep moving through this. Thinking about keeping that core tucked towards our spine. Awesome. Great job. You guys look so strong. And we'll just do 1 more on each heel. Go ahead and we'll lift up into our bridge. And inhale as we lower. And one more here, really nice, slow and controlled. And lower down. Awesome. So now that we're finished that one, we're going to come up to a seated position. So take your time rolling up into a safe seated position. We're going to be we're not going to be cross-legged. You can have your legs out in this V position here. So your feet are just a little bit wider than your hips. If that's not comfortable, you can also sit in a crook position. We'll start here if that's okay with everyone. We're going to have our hands in a 90-90 position, our elbows up. We're going to be doing a seated spine twist. So we want to think about, before we start our movement here, we want to lift that spine up towards the ceiling so we're sitting nice and tall. Our arms up in crook position. Our abs, our core is engaged, tucked towards our spine. And on our exhale, we're going to start by moving towards our right. So we're going to twist that upper body, exhaling, and then inhaling to come back to center. Great job. And then we'll go to the other side. Exhale, and inhale to come back to center. Only twisting as far as feels comfortable, and that we can keep our hips, both of our sit bones on the ground. Great job. Keep moving through this. Challenging our hamstring flexibility here. Working on lengthening through our spine. Yeah, great job. I think you might use your block here. Come sit on the block. Perfect. Just so your sit bones are on the block. So come just right to the edge. Right, sit right on the edge of the block. It'll just give you a little bit, your hamstrings won't be as tight. Is that better? Okay, good. Good job, guys. Great. Yeah. Keeping that eye gaze straight ahead. Sorry, I feel like I'm picking on you, but just a little bit taller if you lift those shoulders down and back. Great job. Awesome. Yeah, that's totally fine. And then just for a couple more here, we can challenge this by just twisting a little bit farther. We'll just do 3 more. Or 4, we'll do 4 more. 2 on each side. Great job. This is our last exercise. You guys have done so well. And 1 more. Great job, everyone. So you can bring your hands down to your side. And you can go back on, we're gonna lay back down on our backs. We're done our main phase now, so we're gonna move through to our closing here. So you can come laying down on your back. We're just gonna start with a developmental stretch. So we're gonna lift that right hamstring up towards the ceiling. You can have your bottom leg bent or straight out in front of you, just for balance, whatever feels good. Yep, good. And then grab behind your calf or your thigh, depending on whatever works for you. So we're gonna hold this stretch for about 60 seconds to help lengthen the muscles here. Yeah. Just bring your hands a little bit further down, just so it's not on your knee. Good job. And then on your next exhale, if you feel comfortable, you can bring your leg a little bit closer towards your chest. Nice job. Otherwise, you can stay exactly where you are. Good job. And we'll go 1 more time. You can pull that leg closer to you on your exhale if that feels good. Otherwise, just stay where you are and feel that stretch. Just letting our bodies lengthen there. We can lower that leg down and we'll switch over to our other leg. So resting that leg on the ground and lifting our left leg up towards the ceiling. Having our hand behind our thigh or our calf. Awesome. You guys have done so well today. Really challenged yourself. And on that next exhale, you can bring that leg a little bit closer to you or stay exactly where you are. Great job, everyone. And one more time, exhale and bring it a little bit further of a stretch. Awesome. And you can lower that leg down to the floor. You can come up to a seated position. Slowly lift yourself up. Good job. We're gonna have our legs in a crook position with your hands behind to support you and balance. We're gonna do a glute stretch. So you're gonna lift your right foot onto your left knee. And this is just gonna be our glute stretch. So this is our maintenance stretch. So it'll be 15 to 20 seconds. We're just gonna feel this stretch through our glutes. We did lots of glute work today. Clamshells and our single leg circles. You can let that knee fall a little bit further for an extra stretch. Making sure we're sitting tall through this. Our chest is open. Awesome. And then you can lower that leg down and we'll switch over to the other side, lifting our left leg onto our right knee. Feeling that stretch in your outer glute. Just making sure we all look good here. Nice. Great job. And then you can lower that leg down. We're gonna go into an abductor stretch. So you can stretch your legs out in front of you. And you can lift your right leg over your left leg and bring that knee up towards your chest, giving that leg a hug. Yeah. And you should feel this on the outer side of your glute there. This is just another maintenance stretch, so another 15 to 20 seconds here. You can hug that leg in a little bit tighter, feel that stretch a little bit more. Thinking about sitting nice and tall here with our eye gaze forward. Continuing to breathe through this, letting our heart rate slow down a little bit here from our main phase. You can go ahead and lower that leg down, and we'll go ahead and switch over to the other one. Bringing that leg in nice and tight. Awesome. Giving that leg a hug. Still thinking about our spinal alignment here. So we just want to make sure, yeah, we're sitting up nice and tall on our sit bones. And you can pull that leg in a little bit tighter. The last couple seconds here. Awesome. And then you can lower that leg down and come into a cross-legged position. I'm just gonna go through a couple minutes here of relaxation. So you can bring your hands to your knees or to your heart center or to the floor, whatever feels good for you. And go ahead and just close your eyes. Take some deep breaths, inhaling through our nose. Nice long exhales through our mouths. Bringing those shoulders down and letting them relax away from your ears. Taking some time just to slow down and breathe. I'm really proud of all the hard work you guys put in today. It's gonna make a big difference as you continue your Pilates journeys to keep practicing and getting comfortable with some new exercises. So thank you for working so hard today. Just continuing to breathe here through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Got about 30 more seconds here. Just taking this time to really let your mind relax. Let any of the worries of the day float away. On your next exhale, you can go ahead and open your eyes. Come back to a comfortable seated position. We're gonna move now up to standing. So slowly make your way up to standing. Use your hands to help you get up into a comfortable standing position. And we're gonna come back into our realignment here. So having your feet hip distance apart, soft knees below your hips, rolling those shoulders down and back, thinking about that pelvic alignment. So we're tucking that pelvis underneath, lifting through that hammock that we spoke about and pulling that belly button towards the spine. Keeping our shoulders down and our chin like it's on a shelf, just straight ahead, and using that eye gaze to keep us looking straight ahead. Awesome. We're just gonna remobilize before I let you guys go. So we're just gonna come into some shoulder rolls like we did at the beginning of class. You guys have worked so hard. I wanna make sure that before you go, your body is still warm and remobilized after we just did some relaxation. So using that breath still, inhaling as we lift, exhaling as we lower. Great job. You can bring those hands to your shoulders like we did at the beginning of class, just to bring in a little bit of a progression there. Awesome. And then moving on to some wrist circles. You can choose to go either direction here, maybe switch back and forth. Great job. Just a couple more here. And then you can bring your hands to your side, and we'll just pedal out those heels. Just lifting one at a time, taking this at your own speed, bringing some movement back into our ankles and our feet. Great job. Using your breath here as we switch in between side to side. Awesome. We'll just do two more here and then we can come to standing. Great job. Okay, so that's it. You guys did so well. Thank you. Before I let you guys go, just a little bit of home care advice. Because we all work at desks and we spend our days sitting, let's think about drawing those shoulders back and down like we did throughout class today. I really challenge you when you're waiting in line or you're just standing around to think about your posture. A little check-in a couple times a week can do a big difference. So that's my advice for you. But other than that, thank you so much for coming, and let's do this again soon. Woo!